everyone, this is Tricia and welcome to my channel. Today I am going to show you how I put together this tote bag that I'll be using for the back of my mother's wheelchair. This took a little time to make, but it wasn't that hard to do, and I think it is a great beginner's project. So let me show you what I used and we can get to sewing. All right, everyone, so I have selected the fabric that I'm going to use for my wheelchair tote bag. I've got 3 fabrics here. I've chosen this one here. It's a little berry floral fabric. It's really pretty. I chose it because I feel it matches the berry color of the wheelchair, and I'll show you that in a little bit. This will be the main fabric for the entire tote bag. I've decided to use this striped fabric as well as an accent on it, and I think I want to do a front pocket and possibly the straps to place it on the wheelchair. Now I need a lining, and I think I'm going to use this fabric, a really pretty turquoisey fabric with some little dots on it. It goes really well with this. This is a brown dot. This has black on it, but it's going to be the lining. Either way, I think it's going to look really nice with this. So let me show you something that I've created here. I've made myself a little design here, a little drawing of what I want my tote bag to look like. This is sort of a side view, the front, and then the opening here, and then of course the back panel. And I very lightly drawn in what would be the bottom panel and another side panel, what would be on this other side. I made myself some notes on the size and the fabric that I want to use. And then this one here has an extra line here, a little extra drawing. This is a front pocket that I want to make, and I've got some dotted lines going down because I want to stitch like that to create 3 little pockets, or maybe 1 larger pocket and 1 smaller pocket. I don't know yet. I may do some on the sides as well, or maybe just on one side. I don't plan on doing anything on the other side, which would be the back of my tote bag, because that's going to be against the back of the wheelchair. So really the only access I have is on the top and on the front. I probably don't have much access on the sides. And I'm thinking that I might want to make an extra type of pocket item that I can put on the side of the wheelchair where the armrest is, where I can put, you know, like her cell phone, etc., things that she can reach. Now, my mom doesn't need to be in a wheelchair completely, but for, you know, longer little shopping trips or maybe going out of town, I will be using the wheelchair for her so she doesn't tire out, and then she can enjoy things with myself or myself and my husband. Okay, so the tools I'm going to be using, obviously some sort of measuring device. I've got a measuring tape here so that I can measure on my wheelchair what size my bag is going to be. And I've already done that, but I'll show you what I did. I'm going to be using some velcro. I don't have here drawn straps, but I do have a little note here of my straps and a little question mark because I'm not sure how I want to do it. But I think I want a little strap coming out from back here, and I want a piece of velcro so that I can loop it around the handle, and I'll show you that in a minute. I'm obviously going to be needing some thread to sew this all together. I've got some scissors, and of course I got my pencil to make myself my little notes, and of course some paper to make extra notes or any extra drawing or whatever I might need. So let's go over to the wheelchair so I can show you how I came up with the measurements that you can't really see here, but let's go to that. All right, so we're looking at the back of the wheelchair. You know, there is the seat. Those are the little footrests, but here is the seat. Oh, and I purchased this really nice gel cushion for the wheelchair. Fits perfectly on there, make it more comfortable for long periods of sitting. Anyway, this is the back of the wheelchair, and here's the color of the wheelchair right here. It is a very pretty maroon or berry red color, and that is why I chose this fabric, because I thought, oh, that matches really nicely with that. So anyway, these fabrics, I already had them. So lucky me, I happen to have something that I could use. Okay, so I'm looking at the back of the wheelchair and, you know, the depths here between the handle and the back here. And then I'm looking at, you know, the space that I've got going down. So I've decided to measure first the back of the wheelchair. And this is 18 inches right here. And I decided, yeah, I want my bag to go all the way across here. And so I've chosen 18 inches. And I've written down 18 inches on my notes, but I am going to be adding to that to give access for seam allowances, I should say. Not access, but allowances for the seam. Okay, and then I measured down to see how long I wanted my bag to be, and I decided that I wanted it to be 12 inches. I thought that was really, a pretty fair, drop in the length. It's not too far down that it'll get caught anywhere on the wheels here. That's just my trash and my other stuff. Ignore that. Okay, so yeah, I just felt like that was a good depth to make it and, be able to tuck things in there. Or if I'm shopping with my mom, we can drop things in there and then, easily access and take them out. So it's not going to have any zipper on the top. It's not going to be covered. It's going to be exposed open for that particular reason, because I want to do some shopping and like maybe go to Hobby Lobby or what. And if I'm pushing my mom around, I need somewhere where I can drop things that I'm buying. Now, unless I'm going to go purchase something big, then we'll handle that some other way. But this is where I can just drop things and not make it look like I'm taking them or stealing them. Okay, let's go on. So that's 12 inches down, 18 across. And then, or the height is 12 inches. And then I decided, well, how deep do I want this to be? I don't want it to go beyond, the handle here. I don't want it to get in the way if I'm moving my hand here, putting the brakes, things like that. I don't want it to be so far out. I just need a little bag. So I decided that 6 inches coming out would be good enough. This is about 6 inches what I'm measuring it with my fingers. So that's about 6 inches. So it's not going to come out too far out. It's just going to come out good enough where I can put some items in there, or maybe a water bottle or something, if we're walking somewhere else, maybe the park or something. I want to take her and she gets tired of walking, because she could push this and use it as a walker and then, sit on it when she's tired, and then I'll push her. Is that too much of information? I don't know, but anyway, that's where my brain is going, where things can be put in there. Okay, so we've got an 18 length, we've got a 12-inch height, and we've got a 6-inch deep. Now, I said I want a little strap because I want to be able to strap it on here. Now, I don't want the straps to be so long, because then my bag is going to hang down here once I've strapped it onto here, and then it's going to be hanging down. So if I would have to make that if I wanted to go over all of this, and that's kind of big. So once it gets in here and it hangs down, or it's got this in the way as well, it's probably going to hang down where I don't want it. I want it a little bit higher up here, right? So I'm going to make a little strap that goes around like this, and then it kind of Velcros closed, okay? So I want it to go all the way, come out right here, and Velcro together right here. So I only need one on this end. Now, that might make my bag droop a little bit downward like that. Excuse me. But when I make the bottom panel, I'm going to add a piece of foam board or something that I can slide in there into the bag to keep it kind of boxed open like that. So we'll figure that out as I'm making the bag. Okay, so those are my measurements. That's where I got to them. Long story. So let's get to sewing. All right, so I've gone ahead and I've dug through my items, because there is something that I forgot to mention that I will be using. And I'm going to be using this. This is called Pellin, or you could use a thick felt fabric, or even a quilter's batting, but you probably want to choose something very thin. Okay, so I'm going to use this Pellin because it is nice and stiff, and this is going to be an interfacing between my outer fabric and my lining on my bag, so that it will be stiffer, so that it doesn't fall, wimp down. I don't know what else to use, but this is what it is right here. It is just like a very kind of stiff felt type of fabric, and this will work really well for what I want. So we're going to have to end up sewing this into the fabric so it doesn't move around. So let's go ahead and start cutting our panels. We're going to start out by cutting the back panel. Now, when I cut the back panel, I'm also going to cut what will be the lining for that back panel and the felt for that back panel. All right, since my back panel and my front panel are going to use this fabric completely on that, and also the two linings, I'm actually going to cut 2 pieces of the fabric that I want on the outside, and 2 pieces for the lining for both the back and the front panel. Now, to cut those, I don't have to take into consideration the depths. All I need is the length and the height of the fabric, and that is an 18 by 12. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces 18 by 12 with this fabric, 2 pieces 18 by 12 with this fabric, and then 2 pieces 18 by 12 of the Pellon or the stiff felt. Oh, I do want to point out that I'm not cutting 18 by 12. I need to give everything a seam allowance, and I'm going to be doing a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I could also go up to 1/2 inch. So at this point, I am going to go ahead and go 1/2 inch just to make sure, because when I sew the felt onto this, you know, this fabric to the felt, it might shrink it up a little bit, not as much as when you quilt it, because you do a lot of sewing and it pulls the fabric in. I'm going to go ahead and give, you know, each seam allowance, which will be in the sides, the top and the bottom. I'm going to give each one a 1/2 inch. So considering that there's 2 sides instead of 1/2 inch, that's 1 inch. So also the same on the top and the bottom, 1/2 inch in the top, 1/2 inch in the bottom makes it 1 inch. So instead of 18 by 12, I'm going to be cutting 19 by 13. So if you want to make the bag the same size I am, that's the measurement that I'm using for the length and the height. My Pellon, my package of the Pellon is 15 inches by 1 yard. So I have plenty of room this way, but if I was to cut 18 inches and 18 inches this way, that's actually 36 inches. So that's a whole yard. That leaves me nothing of this except for, you know, a small amount, you know, right here, which is maybe 1.5 inches left over, a whole strip at 1.5 inches for a whole yard left over. So I won't have enough for my side panels and my bottom panel. So I went ahead and I pulled out a thick felt that I have. I'm going to use this for the front and the back panel instead of using this stiffer felt or Pellon. This is a stabilizer is what it is for items that you want to kind of stand. So in order to make this bag kind of standable, if you will, I'm going to use this for the bottom panel, the bottom and the side panels. That way it'll kind of keep it plopped open. I'll keep the bottom, even though I still want to put maybe something like a cardboard or a piece of foam board inside the bag, you know, to keep it open. I'm going to use this instead for that. So if you plan on using this type of product, which I bought this at Walmart, by the way, and I think I paid like $5 for it. But if you use, make sure you look at how much you have. So if you want to use it for the whole bag, you're going to have to buy at least 2 of this according to this measurement. Now, if they sell it by the yard, then, you know, buy a couple of yards. Okay. And make sure that it's, you know, long enough for the, you know, the height of your bag. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to be cutting the side panels, and I need 1 for each side. So I need to cut 2 side panels out of my main fabric for my bag and out of my lining for my bag. And then now I'm going to be using the stiff Pellon for the interfacing. And I need to cut 2 pieces of that. And this is again, 12 inches in height by 6. So that means I need to go 13 by 7. All right, so I've gone ahead and I finished cutting up all my pieces actually. My front panel and my back panel, 1 of each for my fabric, for my bag. And then of course, what I'm gonna use for lining. This was cut in a fold, so I actually have to cut open that fold. So it'll be 2 pieces, and I'll go ahead and finish that off. But for now, I'll leave it like that. And then of course my felt, which is my interfacing. Now I've also gone ahead and cut out the bottom and the sides. I will tell you, when I cut the sides, I wanted an 18 by 12, and I said I was going to cut it 19 by 13, but I ended up cutting it 18 by 13 because that's what I usually do when I'm doing a video. I make some sort of a mistake. So this is actually 18, so I'm going to have to take off either 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch on each side for the side seams. So this is actually going to end up being like about 17 inches in length, and that's okay. So I've cut the bottom the same, the 17, but I've cut this across here 7 because I actually wanted this to be 6. So the bottom panel, just 1. So 1 piece of the actual bag fabric that I want to use, my lining. And then I'm using that Pellon, that extra firm type of felt fabric. This is going to be for the bottom. This will give it nice stability. All right, and then I've cut my sides, which I needed them to be a 6 by 12, and I've actually cut this 13, yep, 13 by 7. Yeah, this one I cut it correctly. Now, I was going to use the same fabric here for the sides, but I decided, you know what, I think it would be pretty if the sides were a little bit different, just like the pocket that I'm going to make in the front. So I've cut, again, 2 pieces because I'm doing 2 sides and then the lining, and then again, I'm using this Pellon, this stiffer felt. All right, so now I want to cut the pocket that I'm going to have here, and I'm going to be cutting that from the striped fabric because I thought that would be really pretty, just like I did the sides. And this is also going to have a lining, so I need to cut it out of this fabric. I'll get a piece in a moment to cut a bigger piece. This is just a scrap left over, but I do have more. So I'm going to cut that piece as well. And then I'm also going to cut from this really soft felt because I do want the pockets to also have some, you know, firmness to them. I don't want them to be all loosey-goosey. So anyway, let's go ahead and decide how big I want that. I made myself a little note, and I think I wanted the panel to be 18 by 8 inches. So the 18 is going to stay, obviously, because I can't go any bigger. I should go 19, but I made that little mistake. So we're doing 18. So we're going to pretend, okay, 17. And I still want the 8 inches, though, so I have to go 9 inches. So I'm going to cut a panel to go across like that. This will be for the pocket, and it'll have a lining, like I said, and I think it'll be really cute. I don't know if once I get it on here, if I'm going to make 3 pockets or just maybe one slim one and then a long one. We'll see, but for now, let me go ahead and cut out that piece out of this, the lining and the felt. All right, so I've gone ahead and I've separated all of my lining pieces. So that was that turquoise fabric with all the little dots. I've separated those and I've given everything a little bit of an ironing because, you know, there's some fold lines, etc., a little bit of wrinkles here and there. Just a little light ironing. And then I've matched up my main fabrics with their felt. So here I've got my sides, and you can see that my felt is maybe just a tiny bit bigger, but that's okay. We're going to trim that off in a bit. So I've got my two sides with that really nice stiff felt, and then I've got my bottom with that really nice stiff felt, and then I've got my pocket piece and my front and side panels, front and back panels, also with their felt. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the thread that I want on my sewing machine, and then I'm just going to kind of sew up and down, just like that, just so that the main fabric is holding on to the felt. You could do this any way. You could go up and down. You could go sideways, or, you know, the lengthwise, or both, or just do little squiggles if that's what you want. You could do it any way you want. I am going to go ahead and I think I'm going to go up and down. I don't know if I'll go this way, or maybe I'll do little squiggles. I don't know. But either way, I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to do that off camera. I don't want to, you know, do too much. Maybe I'll show a little bit, and then we'll go to the next step. All right, so I did go ahead and pin these down. I got pins on here just to hold the fabric so it doesn't move around on me as I'm sewing up and down. Let me fix this one a little bit. Okay, this is with a stiffer felt, so I'm definitely not going to do anything fancy. I'm just going to go up and down. And I'm using some of these stripes here to kind of guide me where I'm just going to sew. They're not going to be any, you know, I'm not going to measure how far away they're spaced out because there's so much pattern, you're not even going to tell. But of course you can do that, you know, measure them 1 inch apart, 2 inches apart, whatever you want. All right, so I've done 1, 2, 3, 4. I've just done 4 lines going up and down. These are on the side panels. I'm going to go ahead and do the other one the same, the bottom, and then maybe the front and back panels. I'll do some little squiggly lines. All right, so I've finished the pocket side. Now I got to do the back and the front panel. But before I move on, since I've got the pocket piece right here, I'm going to go ahead and grab the lining fabric, and I'm going to put these front sides, or the facings, the right sides, facing each other. So I'm just going to pin it on one of the long ends here. Okay, so now that I've pinned it and I've got all this whole one end pinned, I'm going to go ahead and sew down just on that one side. I don't want to do the sides or anything else. I just want to do this. And again, it's just about a 1/4 inch. If you want to do 1/2 inch, it's up to you, but I'm going to do a 1/4 inch. Okay, now I'm going to turn this around and I'm going to iron it nice and flat like that first. And then I'm going to turn this over to the inside. And once I've done that and I got it all this end inside the lining, I got to iron it for things to happen. And then I can top stitch it to make sure that I keep the lining in place and it doesn't move up on me and do this. Alright, so I've done a little top stitching on there. You can see it on this other side a little bit better, but there we go. This is our little pocket piece, all nicely and ready. All nice and ready. Alright, so we're going to go on to the next step. We're going to put our pocket on our front panel, and then we can build that those pieces, and then we'll do the lining the same way that we do these other main pieces. Alright, so I've completed the front and the back panel. It doesn't really matter, they're both the same, but I did decide to do like squiggly lines like that on it, and that made the fabric move quite a bit, even though no matter how hard I pinned it down. But then I decided to do, okay, I'm going to just go up and down, but I'm not going to pin it. So they're just up and down, and they're not like straight or anything like that. They're not measured, but my fabric still moved, and that's okay. That's all right. Okay, so I'm going to grab this one because I think I want the little squiggly lines to be in the front. It doesn't really matter. Okay, and then we're going to put our pocket on top of that. Let's move this over a little bit. I'm going to put our pocket on top, just like that. Nice big pockets. Now I got to decide if, I'm pinning them on the edges, by the way. I got to decide if I want one big pocket and then one smaller pocket. And I think I like the idea of like a smaller pocket that'll fit like a phone. So you just want to make sure that, you know, a phone will slide in after it's been stitched. And then, you know, figure out like where else can you stitch, which is going to be about right here, just to make sure I give enough room, especially if the phone goes in quite a bit. I want to be able to reach in there, you know, be able to grab it. So, you know, depending on what size phone, or if you don't care about that, maybe some sunglasses or something else. Okay, so that's where I'm going to go ahead and just sew straight down to create, you know, 2 pockets here. And I'm also going to go ahead and sew it along the side edges here, also over here. And I can see here that I'm going to have to trim my pocket just a little bit, and that's okay. We're not going to worry about that, but we want to make sure we're catching both fabrics. So let's go ahead and stitch on the side where I want that pocket size, and then on the other side. Okay, so that is done. And of course it's not stitched at the bottom yet. I'm not going to worry about that till I put the bottom panel. But this is a pocket here. And then here's another pocket. Very nice. I like it. I'm glad that I decided to do that because I can put something bigger here. And of course the phone here if I need to. Alright, so let's go ahead and start sewing the side panels onto the front part here. So we're going to want to grab our side panels. And of course this is just a stripe going up and down. Could be a solid, who knows. But we're gonna line this up and make sure you line. Let me go ahead and trim where this pocket fabric is a little too, like it's popping out a little too much. So let's trim that so that everything is kind of even here. And then we're gonna put the side panel here, nice sides facing each other. And then we're just gonna sew along the edge here, and then I'm going to do the other side, the same thing, pin it, and we're just going to sew along the edge here. Okay, alright, so we've got our side panels now sewn to our front panel, as you can see right there. So now we're going to take our back panel here long ways, and we're going to take this and sew it to this edge here where the side panel is here, right there. I'm going to pin it for now. Okay, and then we're going to take the other end of our back panel and we're going to sew it to the edge of this side panel over here. Okay, so that's forming like this, okay? This stiffy felt is really slippery. So I'm going to make sure you grab onto it because mine just did a little skid job right there. Okay, now let's do the other side, or the back panel and the side panel. Okay. So all that I did right now, sewing this front and the back to the side panels, we're going to repeat that with the lining. Before I go on to the bottom part, I'm going to go ahead and get the lining sewn so that it forms this sort of like a square here. Okay, so you can see now what's happening there. Alright, so I've repeated the process with my lining fabric where I've sewn the side panels to the front and the back. It doesn't really matter in this case in my lining which is the front, which is the back, but that's what I'm calling them so that you'll know what I'm talking about. So the side panels have been sewn and it creates, you know, a little square here. Now I've gone ahead and I've added the bottom panel to this. So what I've did is I've lined it up and I've sewn it all the way. So choose a bottom on your fabric. And then I've done the same thing on the other side, but when I've sewn here I stopped and I went about maybe 6 inches, depending on how big your bag is, of course, and just leave enough space where you can put your hand through it. And then I've sewn the other edge here so that I have an opening, and it's very important that you have that little opening there. Once I've sewn the two sides, you know, the long ends, and then I turn it around and I grab the side panel bottom edge and the bottom panel of the bag and sew those together, and it gets a little messy in the corners, that's okay. And then I did the same on the other side to create, you know, this bag. This is the lining. I'll turn it around so that you can see how that is a bag. And I'll poke them out. I'm going to do the same thing to the main part of my bag. But I wanted to show you here because, you know, it's a little easier to maneuver this around and show you what I'm doing. And basically that's a bag right there. See that? And it's got an opening here. You can feel in there, except that this has this little opening here. The main part will not have, excuse me, the main part will not have that little opening. Okay, so for my main part, let's turn it over. Let's turn it over this way so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to refer to where I have my pocket. This is obviously going to be the top part of my bag where the pocket. So obviously this down here is the bottom. So I'm going to grab my bottom panel and I'm going to line it up. Now the bottom panel is obviously going to just barely, you know, be just a tiny bit longer because I haven't sewn anything on it, but over here the ends are sewn in there. So we want to grab it and pin all of that, and we're going to start sewing, but not on this little edge, but rather a little bit in where it just grabs right here. So we're going to put that there. And this is where the tricky part is, especially since this is like really stiff here. And then we got double layers. Let's see. I'm trying to line it up. I'm going to pin it in the center somewhere. And then again right here. And we're going to go to the other end over here. And this is where it's sewn right here. This is the seam. Again, we want to have like that little bit of a lift here. We're not going to sew this all the way down. We're going to stop right where this seam is. So you put this on there and you mark where that seam is to tell you where to stop sewing. So then this little flap here will be free. Okay, so I'm ready to sew this, but I went ahead and I removed the this arm that was on here, because that way I can slide this like that, because I don't want this to get caught. Okay, you don't want this bottom part to get caught, so you want to slide it underneath there, and then just bring it around. Okay, I'm gonna get this down right where that little seam is, right on the underneath it there. Now I can do a different style tote. Let me know if you want me to do that where you don't have this bottom panel. It's gonna be a whole lot easier to do, and you can also line it. So let me know if you want to see that. It's a great beginner project as well. I want to make sure I'm grabbing all my fabrics too. Okay, we're coming to the end here, and we're gonna lift this up so we can see where that little stitch line is, so we know how far to go on here. It's right there, back stitch it. And there we go, just like that. Okay, so I'm going to turn it around so then I can sew this edge to the back edge over here. So I have to flip it like that, inside out, see? And now I'm going to bring this so that I can sew it. And I want to do the same thing when I sew this right on here. I want to make sure that I give it a little free edge there. Okay, so I've been pinning it and making sure that when I get to this other end, again, I have that little free edge, okay? So obviously I'm not going to sew all the way down to this end. I'm going to make sure that I stop right about right here, which is where this other seam is. And you can clearly see it because of the two different fabrics there. Okay. Oops. There we go. And I'm going to end it right there. Oops. My goodness. And I've chosen to use a different pin style so that they don't break on me, because those quilting pins are really thin. Okay. Here we don't have the luxury of sliding anything under here. So I just have to be bringing this over. Now this wasn't as hard when I did the lining, because the lining doesn't have the stiff fabric. Okay? So it's going to be a lot easier for you. If you don't want to be struggling so much, don't use this Pellon. Just use that regular felt like I used over here. Okay? But this is going to be a little bit of a struggle, just so you know. Like I said, this is still a really good beginner's project, because you're gonna be practicing things like that. Be careful that you don't slide it out. Okay, let's get this going. I'll be back when this is all done, and then we'll do the edges, the side edges, okay? Alright, so now I'm doing the side edges on the side panels and the bottom panel. It's hard, extra hard for me, because I'm trying to keep the fabric from flopping up and getting in the way of the camera. Oops, I think I just broke my needle. I may have. Let's go ahead and change that. Yeah. Okay, I just bent it is what I did. So I'm going to go ahead and replace my needle on my sewing machine and finish up the other edge. But this is what it's, looking like. See? And then we'll do the same thing on this other side. I'm just going to pinch it and pinch over here and sew all that. Alright, so I've already sewn the bottom parts here, the ends, and over here as well. So I'm going to open this up, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run my finger through the bottoms here and make sure there's no holes where maybe I didn't stitch something. So I'm just checking, and so far everything feels really nice. I'll go ahead and turn it over. So yes, the next thing I want to determine, now that I've turned it over, is I'm going to hold it against the back of the wheelchair and check to see where my straps are going to go. But here's my bag. See how nice it stands like that? That's why I wanted to use that stiff felt, because it'll keep it open. I'll keep the bottom open here. And poke out the edges as best as you can. And after we've decided the straps and we've placed them where we want them, then we're going to add the lining. That's the last thing we're going to do. But look, there's the bag. Now when I put, this is the back. When I put this back against the back of the wheelchair and where the handles are, I'm going to want the straps to come out like from the back edge. And I think I'm going to go on the side panels on the back end and put a strap to come out of here so that it could go in through where the handlebars are, and then Velcro shut against itself. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a strap like that, and I want to come around and Velcro onto itself. Or maybe I'll put the Velcro on the edge of the bag here and then Velcro it right there. Alright everyone, I have this scrap piece of fabric that I was using, you know, when I was cutting everything, this little scrap was left over. And I went ahead and I compared this to the length that I want my little handle to be, sort of. And obviously this is a little bit longer than what I want. But I'm going to use this length to create my handle because, like I said, I can trim it after and decide what length I actually want it to be. And of course I want this with a stripe like that. So, and I'm not using this one because even though I fold it and the width is nice, I need to do a little fold in like that, 1/4 inch on each side, and then fold it. And to me that's just doesn't seem like wide enough, although it might be okay. But I want to put some felt in there, so I'm going to go ahead and cut another piece and just cut it a little bit wide, or like maybe double whatever this is. So I'll just fold it in half like that, and then just kind of use this as a guide. Yeah, this will be good. And then when I fold in 1/4 inch on this side, it'll be about, well, it's still too wide. Let's go a little bit less. Let's see, about right there. 1/4 inch that gets folded in. I think that's good. That's probably a good inch. So yeah, let's do that. So altogether, sort of 1 inch and 1/4. So that would make it, what, 2.5 inches of fabric, like that, and then fold it in half. So this is more or less, okay? So let's just go ahead and cut that. Since I have a little stripe there to mark it, I'm just cutting it right along that. Okay. I don't need it to be that long, but this was a good length to use as a sort of more or less. So that's what I'm going to do. And because I said I want it to be about 1 inch when I have, you know, the width, I'm going to cut 1 inch off of this guy more or less. And oh, look at that. That ends up being just about the right length. And don't worry about it because I'm going to cut some of it, right? Okay. Let's do that. And I'm also going to fold this one edge in. So I need 1/4 inch also, less of the felt. So I'm going to cut about, yeah, I'm going to measure about 1 inch. Okay. I'm going to fold that. Okay, now if you use the iron, this will work a lot better for you. So let's go ahead and mark this right here. The fold, we'll put this along the fold. Like I said, give it 1/4 inch over here. So I'm going to fold it up 1/4 inch, and then I'm going to fold it again. There we go. This is going to be a little bit tricky. You know what, let me do this first. Let me line it up along what I think is my fold. Fold this first. It's not the fold, a little bit more. Right there. I'm going to pin that in the middle here. Like I said, it's easier if you can use your iron. Okay. Now we can fold in this edge like so. I can trim off all those little frayed edges. I'm going to put a little pin right here in this little corner to hold it. It's not perfect, but well, let's try and do a little bit better job. Fold it in. Fold that. And then we can fold these little edges inward. Let's fold this one first. And then this one like that. We'll pin that. And then I can just go down, folding this edge in like that. This one over. Like I said, if you'd use your iron, this would be a lot easier. Okay. And just pin it. Pin it, pin it, pin it, pin it, pin it, all the way. Okay, so you can buy straps that are already made. You don't have to make them yourself. And then just, you know, have them. Sometimes they're sold by the yards. So just, you know, buy half a yard or something, or a whole yard if you want. Depending on how long you want your straps to get. Okay, now I'm just sewing along the other edge. And, okay. So here it is. This is what I'm going to use as my strap. All right, everyone. So here's where my bag is going to go. So I don't want it to hang too far down. See that? I don't want it to be hanging way down here. I want it to hang around right here, nice and close here. So this is my little strap, which is going to go around like that. So I'm thinking this is a good, you know, length, and I want to sew it to the side panel. It's going to get sandwiched right in here, and then the lining will be here. So this will go around like that. Oops. The same thing on the other side. And then I can just, once I get it on here, I can decide where I want my Velcro in, or snap and put it on there like that. So, you know, if the Velcro's not sturdy enough, maybe I'll use a snap. And it might have to go like kind of sideways like that, rather than trying to put it going straight. So once I have that in there, I'll go ahead and then decide, okay, where's it gonna, you know, how big of a piece of Velcro do I need to put here and here, so that this all attaches together. By the way, make 2 straps because you're going to need one for each side. All right, so I've gone ahead and I've turned my bag with the outside of the, you know, the inside out, I should say. Okay, so this is the front panel right here, and I'm going to be working towards the back panel. So I want this corner of the side panel where I'm going to line this little strap along the edge here, and I'm going to pin it down, but I don't want to pin it way up here because I'm going to be sewing right here and I don't want the pin to be in the way. So let's pin it way down here, and then just to make sure this doesn't come upward, we're going to pin it down way further down. Pin that edge down in there. Okay, so that it's all inside. Can you see that? Well, it looks just like this side panel. So here's the little strap, and I've pinned it down here so it doesn't move. And I'll do that on the other edge also, which I already have the little strap here. I have it on this back side. Make sure it's along the edge of the back side, not the front where the pockets are. Okay, I'm gonna put it right there. Okay, now that I have that, just put it like that. We're going to take our lining, and just as it is, we're not going to turn it inside out. We're going to leave the nice side on the outside, and we're going to tuck this into our bag like that. Take the side panels right where you sewed right here, the seam, line it up, and line it up over here as well. And we're going to pin that. And we're going to do that all the way around our bag. But first do the sides, because if it doesn't match, you might have to do a little adjusting, and you'll do the adjusting to the lining, not the big bag, you know, the main body of it. Okay. So for these side panels, match up, which is a good thing. But that doesn't always happen. Sometimes you gotta do a little pinching, a little pleat or something, or, you know, if it's too big, you gotta sew it in a little bit more, or if it's too small, you gotta take off the seam that you've sewn the thread and then sew a little bit further out. Okay, so there and there, these match perfectly. That doesn't always happen, especially since I wasn't doing any precise sewing. Okay, we're not going to leave any openings. We have that little opening down at the bottom of our lining. Remember to do that. We're just going to sew all the way around, and that little opening down here is what's going to help us turn all our bag in, back, with a nice side out. Okay, so now I'm just pinning and making sure this matches, and it looks like it is. So far so good, guys. Pinning that, but lots of pins to make sure that everything is matching. Now I'm going to flip this over like that, and now we're going to match. Push that in, just bring it to the edge, spread it out, and it matches. Wow. I'm a little surprised because I'm not doing such a great job with this bag. But there we go. This matches. So now we're going to sew along the edge all the way around and then back down to where we started. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and start sewing, and this time I'm going to sew 1/2 inch in, or more or less, a little bit more than that 1/4 inch, definitely. So just going to go all the way around till I get back to where I started. Okay, now I'm going to turn it inside out. Like I said, you're going to reach in for that little hole in the lining and pull in the outer bag. Now remember, there's some pins in there holding that strap, so be really careful with that. I mean, you could reach in. Let's go ahead and do that to where the straps are. Here's one pin. Take it out. Let's feel further down. There's the other one. Now the other strap. All right, make sure you know how many pins you put. Now I'm going to start turning this over and bringing it through that little hole. It's going to be a toughie, guys. It's going to be tough. I mean, if we have to make the hole bigger, we will. And we're just going to stitch that hole shut with, a hand needle and thread. Just do that. Okay, all right. There we go. And we'll poke out the holes, or punch out the corners, I should say. Poke out the holes. Okay, so here's the lining out here now. So now we want to push all that lining in. Okay, well first, before you do that, you can hand stitch this. I'm going to go ahead and just stitch this shut with a sewing machine. And then I'm going to push it into the bag like that. Okay? And then once I have it in the bag, I'm going to grab it. And you can iron. I'm going to do a top stitch. Alright, so I'm doing the top stitching, and I'm going in a good 1/2 inch or a little bit more because I want to avoid the extra thickness right here of where I did the seam inside there, all that bunching up of that fabric. Alright, so here I place it on the back of the chair. As you can see right there, I just pinned the little straps more or less how I want them. I've pinned it and I really liked it, so I'm going to make myself a little marking right here. Let me get a pin. Okay, so I'm going to make this little pin marking right here because this is where I want this edge to end up being, and this angle. So that's where I've pinned it, and I'm going to go ahead and do that on the other side as well, so I can go ahead and just take these off, and then when I measure, mark where I'm going to put my Velcro, I can line this up right here with this pin, and then I know where to put my Velcro and where to put my Velcro here. Alright, so I've got my pin right here, so that tells me the end of my strap will align right there. This is as far up as the Velcro can go, so I'm going to put another pin right there to mark that. And I want to put Velcro here and Velcro right here. So let's grab our Velcro. Okay, so here I have it. Let's go ahead and kind of measure. I don't want it to be all the way to the edge, just a little bit there. So I think that's about as big as I'm going to cut that. And I'll go ahead and cut another one for the other side just to more or less I think it'll be about the same. They're not going to be exact, but at least close. Okay, so now I can open my Velcro. Alright, so I've opened my Velcro and I'm going to put one on here. See, it's going to go like that. So I'm going to center it. And then we can pin that on there. And we're going to sew it. So I'm just going to use my sewing machine to sew along the edges here and the edge here. Let's put that right there. And then we make sure we put this where it's going to match up. Does that match up? Nope, let's do this. Right there. Okay, now I can go ahead and take this pin off and pin this. And then I'll sew this right here. Okay? All right, everyone, so my bag is completed. Here we go. These are the pockets. Really nice. I love it. I love the fabric combinations. Look at that. And there you can see here where it is strapped here on the side. So, you know, the side looks really nice too with that fabric going up and down there. And then, you know, the red here matches with the wheelchair itself. Although you can't really see that fabric too much except right here in the front. I'm really happy with the way that it turned out, you guys. So like I said, this is a nice beginner project. You know, it's a little hard to get through it because of that stiff felt, that Pellon that I used at the bottom. But you could always use a softer one, like I said. And then I was going to do a piece of foam board and then wrap it in this same liner fabric. I'm just going to hot glue it on there and then just throw it down there to kind of square off the bottom. But you know what? I'm not mad at it. I'm okay with the way it is. Once I get stuff in there now, I feel like it hangs down, like it makes it droop, then maybe I'll go ahead and do that. But for now, I really like it. I don't see myself like really doing a lot of shopping with this. This is just in situations where my mom can't walk around too much. And because I want her to go with me, I want her to go shopping with me. I told her, well, you know what? And I got this lighter wheelchair, by the way. I ordered it from Amazon. It is a transport chair. Look at those big wheels on the bottom. Anyway, I got this one because it was so much easier, and this back part here folds down and then it folds in like that, so it takes up less space in my car when I put it away. So if I would just want to leave it there, it'll be okay. My groceries will fit too, as opposed to the bigger wheelchair where this doesn't fold down. Not only that, but it's a little bit wider. Even though the wheels are smaller on the other one, it's heavier. This one is much lighter. It is from Medline. And I ordered it from Amazon. I think they also have it at Walmart, so you can check them also, in case you're interested. Anyway, okay, yeah, here's the brand, so you can see that. And it is a transfer chair. I paid, I think it was $159.99, something like that, 160 bucks. Didn't pay any shipping, just the taxes, of course. But anyway, there's my bag. And like I said, I don't foresee me really using it for shopping. I just want my mom to be able to go with me and enjoy things. And she gets really tired if she's walking. Her back will hurt or her legs will be hurting. And she can't walk very fast anyway. So I wanted to be able to take her. And I told her, you know what, I'm going to get a lighter wheelchair. I'm going to make a bag for it. So if I do go shopping and I grab a few things, you know, it's not going to be grocery shopping, but it's going to be just, maybe shopping at Hobby Lobby, or maybe we'll go to Walmart, pick up a prescription, throw it in there, and then maybe some other little things. And I can push her. And if she feels like she wants to stand up, then she can stand up and she could push it, like if she's using a walker, Anyway, so that's the idea of that. It's not for putting like a whole bunch of stuff, heavy things in there. It's just for light shopping, like I said, for my mom to enjoy. So anyway, this is a great project for a beginner, as I was saying before I got thrown off why I made it, because it doesn't matter how it ends up at the end, what size it ends up. Maybe you sewed it a little too much and it ended up smaller, or maybe a little too big. It doesn't matter because it's not going on your body, so it doesn't have to be a perfect fit. Look, see mine? I thought I was going a little bit smaller because I had done the 18 inches, but look, this this still could have been a little bit smaller, you know. So when you measure things, don't measure like from the outer edge, which is what I did. You know, measure a little bit smaller and so it'll fit in there. Or like I said, instead of putting the strap on the corner of the side panel, put it on the corner of this back panel, and that would have pulled it, you know, that way. And also on the other side. So then you would have had like a nice, you know, tight fit of this fabric, and it wouldn't do this on you. But like I said, I don't mind it. I think it looks really great. So I'm going to give myself a big old thumbs up. And I hope that you too will give me a big old thumbs up and leave a kind comment down below. And let me know what you thought of my project for today. I want to continue doing some more sewing projects. So let me know if you want to see another tote bag done a much simpler, easier way, but also lined and not have to be dealing with that bottom panel. So let me know if you want to see that. I also do want to make maybe something here for the side. If you want to see that, let me know, because something like that could also go, I don't know, on a walker maybe. So we put like long straps that'll Velcro. Put a little thing here with little pockets so she can put her cell phone and it'll be easy for her to grab there. So what do you guys think? All right, everyone, if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to share on your social medias. Also, the little notification bell will pop up after you've subscribed. So please hit that and choose all so that you get notified of all of my videos as soon as I upload them. I want to thank you all for your continued support on my channel. And as always, enjoy.